It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness.
Big thanks to the Trail Books for the music and our featured patrons, Burns Fire, Hockey Zombie, Ship to Shore, A. Holly S., Geodandrew, Direwolf 821, Deuteronomy 31:8, Sasquatch Lover, Anhe Adaman, Emily Renee, and our new patrons, Glowworm 77. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the famous blackout coin, which I'm showing right now. Ooh, very cool. The very famous blackout coin. And other items during the year, as well as bonus content, invites to special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as nano level now, which is $1 a month. So join Patreon, give us $1 a month, and you will be a patron. Well, let me welcome to the show Jeff May, Behind the Cache.
Behind the Cache?
Behind the Cache, the line. Cache the line. Sorry. I get Derek's sometimes messed up with yours. I mix them together.
Behind the Cache the line. That'd be interesting.
Cache the line. The Bruce Zero, which is an area, right?
Is an area?
The Bruce?
Oh, the Bruce Peninsula, yes. Yeah.
Bruce is an area, but also
County,
that was a name you used for a while. So
yeah.
Cache the line with the Foon.
Swoosh.
The Foon. If you can go the Foon like as you run, the Foon. I don't see people do the Foon much anymore, buddy. I'm sorry. At least not down here.
It was really popular around here for a long time.
Right. Kind of like planking or all the different things people did, but it's cool looking.
Yeah, it's like a Running Man, yeah.
Yeah, Running Man. I like that. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for filling in for Jesse as one of our favorite co-hosts.
Honor to be here.
Fill in. Thank you, sir. Well, let's jump right into show 172 as we discuss how geocaching can change your life. How about that for
lives changed everywhere?
I tell you, that's sort of a big statement there, isn't it? So, oh well, we're gonna make it happen tonight because I think we got some good info for people, and it'll be fun. I think it's gonna be a good one. So first, let's do a little bit of news, if we would. First thing is, did you see this, Jeff? Did you see the new list experience?
Yes, very much.
What did you think when you went and looked at it?
It's adding a whole lot of great interactive features, but I also tend to, well, this is kind of getting a little deeper, but I also tend to find that some of their new features they kind of forget about desktop and print type things. So there's still a few things that need to be fixed, and they're working on them. But it definitely adds a lot more functionality for people, which is huge. They're doing their best.
Yeah, no, they are. So Tom's want to know where Scott is. I will stay on track tonight, Tom. Thank you. Jeff will help, so we'll be okay. We'll be on track. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I like that they've, I'm not a big fan of the new dashboard. Well, I don't know. I
still use the classic, the old one,
too.
And then switch over for a couple of the new features, but then switch back to the old
one. Right. You need to make it just a separate just make it a separate links instead of me flipping back and forth, I guess. But yeah. I mean, it's okay. I
And
guess
I
it's
think
nice. It reminded me about a cache I needed to fix. So I guess in one sense it was nice. Because you know when you go to the dashboard, it'll say if you have any that are disabled, it goes, "Hey, you got a disabled cache. You can go fix that one." And you're like, "Well, yeah, I will when I can." But
yeah.
I did fix one this week. So Susan and I told Susan before we went to dinner. I said, "Hey, I need to swing by because we need to go ahead and get this one back up and running."
Mhm.
It's at the chamber, and I don't want to lose that one because I talked to the chamber and they were happy for me putting it there. So I was like, I don't want to lose that one.
Mhm.
And even though I put notes, I feel kind of awkward if I don't fix one fairly quickly. I don't know about you, but I just don't feel good about leaving my reviewer kind of hanging. I always leave a note because it's like I am going to fix it. Trust me, I
Mhm.
will. But,
I've
but
left
it's
a
like,
few for a long time. I keep
yeah,
getting those little nudge reminders that the reviewer posts.
yeah. Ours will post, and then I was like, dang it, I need to get out there and fix that. So I went by there, and well, I understand why the cache is gone because it was in a tree.
And the
The
tree
tree
is gone.
is gone.
Yep.
The tree is gone, and so
Yep.
I sent a note to my buddy at the chamber, and I go, "Hey, I was just having fun with him. I was like, hey, can you go check on my cache in the tree in the behind the building?" And there was he didn't. He was kind of silent. And I says, "I know the tree is gone. I went and fixed it tonight." He goes, "Oh, good, thanks." I didn't know how to tell you. We took the tree out and took your cache with it. So
Did they retrieve the cache at all?
no,
No. Oh.
no, they
It's
didn't.
nice because that's happened before. There's when a cache that we went to search for, and like things have been destroyed, but then the construction people have found it and taken it and retrieved it and returned
Right.
it to the owners. So, I mean, it can happen. You kind of hope that they wish that they would do that.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Depends on whether they actually like take something down and clear things up, or if they just like mulch everything.
Right. Right there.
Bye bye cache.
Bye bye. So it had been a few weeks. I need to fix it. So it's up and running again. So happy for that. So, okay. So I did want to mention um, about, and I'll put it in the show notes in case or in the banner page down below. If you happen to be anywhere anywhere, I mean, if you're anywhere close to Colby, Kansas, which I know most people aren't, but if you happen to be, take a trip over. The cache for that is, or the event is right down below. Yep, right where Jeff's pointing. GC8D, like difficulty, T for terrain, 4, N is in nature. So GC8 difficulty terrain for nature is the GC code for Meet the Mingo Crew. We're having an event this coming Saturday in Colby, Kansas, near Mingo, and we're going to get together, eat a meal together, and then we're going to at Jinxer 05, 6 hours away. Hey, that's close. Come on, that's not bad. But that's closer than some. So yeah, Ryan, you better be there. You're the one that set it up. So yeah, if you're on Earth somewhere, Tom says you need to make it over. No, but if you happen to be, I don't know, a couple hours away, come on over and be with us. So, oh yeah, Adi, he is. You are close. I can. Hey,
It's a 19-hour drive for me.
Adi Olson. I think they live. I think in Colby. There or maybe close. I'm not sure. Oh, they might be down. Tell us. Remind us where you are. I know you're close. He's going to be there. So they're going to be there. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. So again, we are going to be doing planning. We're meeting with a bunch of the folks out there next weekend. We'll have some announcements. I've asked Ryan what I can say during the show, what I can't say yet, but we actually have some really big announcements that I'm just dying to tell you about, but can't do it yet. So, Hayes, Owen, yeah, Hayes, thank you. Yeah, that's not that's not far at all. So, yep, Hayes, thank you very much on that. Um, Jesse will be probably on line. He probably is not going to be able to make the trip to Mingo, but he'll probably be on. Oh, cool. See, there you go. We have to go find some of the.
Audios.
So very cool. Yeah. All right. So there's the Mingo info. Next, want to mention about Podcast of Hope and something that happened this week. I think it was very cool. I went today to just kind of look and see where, make sure it was up and running. And Jeff, apparently it's up and running. We're at 4% of our goal.
Already.
So, yay, 4%. So we're gonna make it to 5,000 this year. Funds
No
raised.
problem.
Yeah. Jeff's got something in the works. We're gonna have him on. Do you think he'll be on most of the 8? Do you think?
I think most of the time, yeah.
Okay, and we'll check in periodically with you during that. Behind the cash, not you, but behind the cash, Derek.
Derek, yeah.
He's hoping to be at. Hopefully, he's going to be out at St. Jude, and so he's working on that. Keep working on that, my friend, because we'd love to have you be out actually at there because he lives now in that area. So
that'll be pretty.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So Cashline's going to do their thing. Jeff is going to do that, and then Derek's hoping to be there, and we've got other people lined up. We've got some special guests. We're working on a couple other special guests, but we do have a couple that we're very excited about. And so, really it's going to be fun with lots of different folks. It's going to be a great time. So
it's always been fun, like that amount of time, each hour being something different, something some new subject, new people. It's a great cycle for a marathon, a podcast marathon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I like it because it really seems to go. We do an hour, we get another set of folk, and we keep going, and it seems to go better. I think it's easier for me, obviously, to break it up audio wise. I can break it up into to the different. I can break it out into 8 different shows, and then I basically put them out in not all at one time, and so the audio people kind of consume it a little bit differently than the YouTube or the. We can't. The interesting thing is Facebook will only do 4 hours, so we won't be doing Facebook for Podcast of Hope. We'll probably just be doing YouTube because I don't know about Periscope, but Facebook won't let you do more than 4. So, oh well, no big deal. All right, well, let's get into the show proper, and I'm going to make a shameless plug, but there's a reason why I'm making the shameless plug, and that is I took some of the information for tonight from the book I wrote, first book I wrote, called Hide and Seek: Life Lessons of a Geocacher. I'll put it up on the screen so you can at least see what I'm talking about. You can get it on Amazon. Yes, shameless plug. Hide and Seek: Life Lessons of a Geocacher. But some of the notes I've got from it are come from the book. So if you've read the book, you'll kind of get an idea of where I'm coming from with some of it. So, all right. So, as you know, or some people know, well, let me ask you, Jeff. When somebody asks you what is geocaching, do you have basically created in your head sort of a 15-second, 30-second, here's what it is, so that you can kind of tell people what you're doing and all that?
Well, I kind of have a pet peeve with the treasure hunt thing. So I tend to, describe it as an outdoor scavenger hunt, a worldwide outdoor scavenger hunt that uses GPS.
Right.
Because I like to focus more on the adventure, the experience, rather than
Right.
finding things that you can keep and take because it's treasure. Like the treasure really is the entire thing.
Right.
The scavenger hunt to me just feels a lot more game and experience focused than
Right.
tangible swag. So
Yeah. Obviously, that's the next question we always get is, what do you find? And so.
oh yeah, what's the best thing or the strangest thing you found or the yeah.
Yeah. And so, something that I've kind of, I don't know if I don't think I stole from anybody, but the thing that, I don't feel like I did, but I do have a sort of a standard thing that I always say, and that is this one right here. This is what I say. It's treasure hunting where the treasure is the hunt.
Mhm.
And that's the point. It gets to the second point, like you were saying, is that because people are all going to ask, well, what do you find? And it's like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah. I like that because it does redirect it back around to
Yeah.
finding what the treasure is. Yeah.
Yeah. The treasure is in the hunt, not that you find anything. So, but yeah, so some of the things that I talk about in the book are, I start out with a story that as a kid, I remember we would be waiting for um, whatever. We'd be standing outside. I remember I'd be standing next to my dad, and he would be looking at the ground, and I'd be like, "What are you doing, Dad?" And he goes, "I'm looking for four-leaf clovers." I'm like, "Oh, cool. How do I find one of those?" Because apparently, if he thinks it's cool, then I'm going to think it's cool because I love my dad. Um, so he would look, and we would look and look. Once in a while, he'd find one, and he'd show me. But I think there was this, for me, it was that initial, you know, something is hidden, if you want to think of it that way,
Mhm.
and you know, trying to find it.
Yeah.
I think there's something, and I don't know how really I've tried, put a whole book together about it, but trying to trying to to, to capture that idea of um, finding something that's hidden,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's kind of like the playing on the love of discovery. Like whether you're discovering the cache at the end or discovering along the journey, it's like you're finding something.
right. I like the Force Awakens comment. He says, live your life by a compass, not a clock. I like that. But there's something, and we've all, hopefully everybody, it's always been fun to, go on an Easter egg hunt where you do find treasure.
When I was a kid, we did Easter egg hunts all the time. I
Right.
had a friend when I was a kid, and whenever we were over at his house, this was when marbles were really popular. We'd
Oh
we'd
yeah.
all have marbles, and then we'd just spend the night. One person would hide marbles around the basement, and
Right.
it's like literally hide and seek. Go out and try to
Go find
find all
them.
the marbles
Right.
and collect them together. We'd play games like that all the time. There's something about the hunt, like going and searching and finding something. It's like there's a tangible success to finding something that you were looking for.
Yeah. I think that's where kind of it all started. And so we've got some, we're going to get into a couple different sort of topics tonight. We're going to get into a couple different lists, and we're going to get into some geocaching life hacks toward the end. But I'm going to start with sort of what the geocaching life's worth is kind of what it's not really life, but the life of geocaching. What are some things that you want to do? And that is, one is you want to geocache what you love is the first one I want to talk about. So one of the things, and this kind of gets into why you want to if you geocache, why would you want to continue geocaching? And one of the things that I wanted to kind of mention is that I want people to think about doing doing in geocaching what you love. Don't do what somebody else loves. I mean, maybe, but do what you love. I
Mhm.
mean, find what you want to do within the sport, and I still call it a sport, but because I got reasons. Read my book, but um, find what you love, and then do that. Now, for me, yeah, Leslie had a good. It does have a good point. It's the thrill of the hunt, the adventure. Yeah. Um, but some people are like, oh, well, what about, have you done XYZ challenge before? It's
Yeah.
like, that sounds cool. I'll look into it. But they kind of like look at you like, well, why don't you want to do that challenge? And it's
Mhm.
like, well, I might someday, but right now I have no interest in that.
I was just gonna
You
say,
know?
like, challenges really are the best example of that, because the person who puts out the challenge cache has to qualify for themselves.
Yeah.
So you know that if somebody's putting out challenge caches, their challenges are based on basically what they like to do.
Yeah.
And there's so many challenge caches out there that focus on things that you don't necessarily like to do them. So
Yeah.
those kind of become more like a chore. I just want to get that off the map, so I've got to do all this to qualify for that challenge. Right. But if you find a challenge that focuses on something that you love about geocaching, it's so much easier if you don't already qualify for it.
Right. No, you're right. So anyway, so yeah, geocache what you love.
Mhm.
Next one would be this is always interesting too to discuss geocaching what you're good at. Um, Actually, for work, I was required to read. It was a small book, and it's like, oh gosh, required reading. Well, I'm back in school or something, but actually, it was pretty good. We had to read. I didn't have to. I basically they asked you if you wanted to do these optional classes, and it sounded interesting, so I did it. And it was about strength building. And I don't know if you've ever been through a class like this, Jeff, or heard about classes like this, but the idea behind it was, uh, and it'll sound kind of weird at first, but the idea behind it was don't work on your weaknesses,
Mhm.
work on your strengths. Because if you're good at something, just get better at that.
Mhm.
And the idea was that build on your strengths, because if you're good at something, then you can even become even better. I mean, if you're really good at something, or if you're good at something, you then become really good at something.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that was, if you geocache and you love, like Tom loves puzzles,
Mhm.
he should continue to work on puzzles, because number one, he loves it, but number two is he's good at it. So it's not something to be afraid of doing, which I know some people are like, oh, well, you've got to do the opposite. You need to go do, you got to go do 5 5s now, because you're that's your weak point. Go do that. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, but maybe it's better to really focus on the things that you're good at,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of fulfillment, you know, in life
Yeah.
if you do
Yeah.
work on your
And
strengths.
it's kind of like jack of all trades and master of none. It's like,
Right. Exactly.
if you're good at doing something, then focus on doing that, because chances are there's other people who can fill in maybe your holes, and then it gives a lot more variety to what's out there as well.
Yeah.
And if somebody's looking for something specific, they could come to you because you are good at that, as opposed to if you just kind of are a little bit good at everything, who's going to ask you to do something that requires super skill, right? So yeah, focus on something that you're really good at and get good at it, get known for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting thought. Something to mull around and think about. Another one is geocaching what is good for you. And kind of some things I thought about, obviously health wise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, if you are like me and need to get out and maybe walk a little more or whatever, then it's good to kind of try to stretch yourself in a little bit, as far as doing some caches that are a little further, plan a little bit. I mean, you can't, don't kill yourself, but I mean, you want to do, if you're, in decent shape, but you feel like you're at a point where, you want to kind of do something a little different. Kayaking might be a good thing. It builds a different type of muscle. As you probably know, Jeff, you probably get done with kayaking, you're like, oh, those muscles hurt that don't really hurt.
Kind of find that more with canoeing because there's a lot more effort
right.
to get the canoe moving. A kayak is very simple. It's just like
Yeah.
It's much more balanced too because you've got the double paddle, so you're balanced on both sides. Canoe, it's like
yeah. Yeah. I guess sea kayaking can be a little tougher too in certain points, but I guess the idea behind the comment I had was to kind of look for ways to kind of push yourself a little further. Oh yeah, there's a that's a good point. After stroke, I love LPCs. I love LPCs too. I'm a big fan. I really am. But that gets into a whole other thing about my just fascination with turning a light on. I always use that as an example. I'm always fascinated by with if you turn a light on and the light comes on, it's really cool. Yeah. It's kind of like using my phone. I can find a hidden treasure somewhere. To me, that's still fascinating. But yeah, if you're in a certain whatever it is that it's really personal. It's whatever you feel like you need to do next to kind of maybe push yourself a little bit is what you need to really need to do. Not what somebody else is doing, but really what is it that do you need to start doing, cache runs that are, 6 miles, 10 miles, whatever. I mean, if you're at that point, if you need to start going up the side of a hill or mountain, that's what you need to do. That's not what you need to tell somebody else to do, obviously. But
and everybody has different opinions about LPCs. Like,
right.
And that's the thing. It's not a matter of whose opinion is better or worse or right and wrong. It's just some people love them, some people don't.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. You can't don't get into this debate and battle about what is good and what is bad, because that's just going to make enemies. Nobody's going to get happy.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to enjoy that.
Yeah, it's never good. And they fulfill a role, like we said with Rude Kool-Aid. I mean, they fulfilled a role, and that's something I always talk about. I always mention the one that's down the road at the Best Western here in town, because I get people all the time who are like, "I'm so thankful you put a cache there. I didn't have a car. I was on a bus road. I was in, I'm on a bus with a bunch of other folk, and I can't get to a cache, but I wanted to get a cache." And I could walk to that one and walk back, because I don't have a car right now because I'm driving across, country with other folks. So, that's an example of a good idea for an LPC is put one, that's a good spot for one, is put one where people are popping in town and they may not have time or have the means to get around.
And I think as well, like if you really want to put a lamppost cache, then to a degree also kind of think about where you're thinking of putting it, because if you're putting it right next to like a big park, you could be like blocking out a whole bunch of really good areas for somebody else who might want to put like an ammo can at a stump or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, in almost everything you're still kind of thinking about other people as well.
Yeah.
But like there's nothing inherently wrong with an LPC.
But that brings up a good point in the fact that if you're going to place a cache somewhere, and we're going to get into cache placing in a little bit, but think about the wide girth that your cache is creating. It's not just this tree. You've now created this radius of 528 feet or whatever. I don't know what is in meters, Jeff.
161 meters.
161 meters. You now, which I don't know what that means. That seems like a long. That seems like
0.1 miles is just easier to say.
I know, 0.1. So, but the idea is that think about the fact that wherever you place that and get published, you now have taken up this big radius. That's a good point, Jeff, because I mean that's that happens down here sometimes. Like say in a park, if you think strategically, you might be able to get 2 or 3 in a park. If you stuck it dead center, you might ruin a whole section. But that's a good. That's a very good point.
And kind of bringing it back to the health thing as well. It's like if you're in a town with lots of parks and lots of parking areas, and you put a whole bunch of LPCs in the parking lots,
right,
that can take out a lot of desire for people to go through the parks. Like to actually take hikes and walking and exploring out in the actual nature as opposed to the cement playground.
Yeah.
Think about the parks and trails, and even some of those ones just like along a trail in a park can be just as quick and easy to get as an LPC if it's well placed, if it's strategically placed.
Yep. Thanks, Scott. Yes, I did get on track quick. So there you go. Yeah, Jinxer, good point. Always maximize the area for the best type of hide. Exactly. Very good. And then last point of that section was just geocache what is rewarding to you. And we kind of covered that. So, all right. In the next section, we kind of covered too, as far as what's called inflow. I don't know if some of y'all are familiar with the idea behind it, but it's kind of that idea of you know, do what you love, do what's good for other people. Those kind of items is important.
Yeah, things just kind of click. They fall into place, and it makes it's good for everybody, including
yeah.
us.
That's something we don't seem to get enough of, which is, and we'll get into some more of this too in a little bit, but is that whole idea of think about what you're doing. Think about, don't just blindly go, oh, there's a spot. I really like it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to put a cache there. And then you're like,
well, that whole, there wasn't a cache here and I thought there should be, so there is now.
right. Oh, great. Yeah. But maybe, maybe you're not the one to do it. Maybe somebody else should be the one to do that. Maybe this is an opportunity that has opened up for you to mentor somebody who hasn't put any caches out. And maybe that's because you keep hogging everything and you can't put out a bunch of caches and then go, hey, why can't people put in caches in my area? What's the deal? And you look at the map and you're like, where are they going to put them? Yeah. I mean, you took them all. I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, if you're in if that's the situation you're in.
Yeah. And like you said, when it comes to like mentoring, don't assume the worst. Like if you're going to contact somebody about, why did you put this here? Like, I don't want to say be considerate, but think about the fact that they might be new or something. Like there's so many people who their first contact with another geocacher has been negative because that person immediately thought, well, they're like an idiot for doing this. Why are you doing this? It's so obvious you wouldn't do this. Right. And they have this bad experience because it's their first or second cache. It's like, oh, they didn't even think about other stuff. So, I mean, it's a good opportunity to be considerate and friendly. And, if you're wrong and they did that on purpose, then you can get to that point and deal with them respectfully. But
right.
Don't assume the worst. Be a good example. Set an example for a positive community.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. There's some other things about that we talked about earlier, the fact that you should do what your strengths are, but I want to counter that a little bit by saying that don't be afraid to attempt to do something outside of your comfort zone. And, that's something that I've really tried to do more. I think it was about a year ago. I tried to do more, really get into puzzles a little more. Mm-hmm. I know some people are like, I love puzzles. I hate puzzles. Boom, you got everybody, and then you got everything in between, and so, and people have mentioned even already tonight in the chat room about how, they weren't into it originally, but now they're more into it than they used to be. I think that, for me, it was step back, take some time, because I think we've all done this. I don't know, maybe not. You tell me if you've done this, Jeff, but where I'm going to get into puzzles. Oh, here's one. This one looks tough. Let me start with this one. And you're like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I have no idea. You know, I
Yeah.
don't really want to bug Tom on this one, but I just give up. You
Yeah.
know, or I had one, and I think I've told a story before where went down this whole rabbit trail and worked hard. I mean, I spent hours working on this thing, and I was breaking through the barriers this guy had put up, and I'd gotten to this point, and I was like, oh, I think I've got it. And you go to translate the clue, and the clue came back basically as, hey, you have found one of my Easter eggs. Thank you. Congratulations. This is not the
Yeah.
information you're looking for, but
Yeah.
but hope you enjoyed it. It's like, no, I didn't enjoy that. And on top of that, I'm gonna quit doing your puzzle because you're driving me crazy, and I don't want to be there. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Puzzles are a big a, a, a big issue. There's so many varied opinions.
there are.
But yeah, for like that sort of thing, I still remember my favorite puzzle solve was probably one that was down in Ohio, and it
Uh-huh.
was 2 year first to find with a friend. We were just out doing some caching on a little island, and this one popped up, and we're looking at it, and hasn't been found in 2 years. And so we thought about it, both of us kind of separately, thinking about how to. It was just a picture on
Right.
as a description. That's it.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it like, this is a 5 difficulty and nobody's got it. I wonder if we could solve it. So we sitting there and working on it day after day, thinking about it. And then we go out caching this one day, and I'm looking at it, and then something pops out, and I follow that trail, and eventually come to the point where there was one final little touch change to the what I had,
Right.
and then I got a green light on the solver. I was like,
wow, you're
what?
like, cool.
What? And then I don't know how many people were working on it, but this CO had gone through so much drama because nobody had solved it, and so he was getting blamed. It's like an unsolvable puzzle, and so he's getting a lot of flack because nobody can solve this thing.
Right.
And then the two of us, we were working on it, and just somehow something clicked, and we got it within a week. I think it was like 6 days or something. And then as soon as that happened, we're thinking, okay, now somebody else is going to solve it, and somebody else is going to get the FTF, so we have to get down there as fast as possible. So it was that weekend, like 2 days later, we took the long 6-hour drive. This was before I had a license. So he was driving 6 hours to get down to, we let the CO know that we solved it, to get the FTF. And we sat and chatted with him about puzzles and puzzle caching and all the drama that he had to deal with. And ironically, after that, he got even more flack because, Canadians have now solved it. And what happened was our love for this puzzle, we talked about it, how we did it afterwards. And then a couple of other people nearby looked at it, and then they solved it without our help. And then they went down to log it. And then there was even more drama because now, those Canadians are passing around the answers.
Yeah, they passed around the answers.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, it was an awesome 2-year FTF, but puzzles are so contentious to some
They
people.
can be. Yeah. Tom brought up a good point. He says that you learned something on that red herring. That's true. That's true. And so, one of the things I did, and this is get into, something I got into discussion, obviously in the book, I'm bringing it up again, I'm sorry, but was this idea of obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we handle an obstacle?
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, it was all puzzles were an obstacle. But what I did was I stepped back, I looked through the list, and I started finding easier puzzles, easier as far as what they thought was easier, which actually were harder for me. But I was able to start the process of solving some of these puzzles, and I started to solve them. And so I think I'm kind of a little better, and I think I sort of enjoyed the ones I did, Yeah. And so, go ahead.
You can finish your thought.
No, I just was saying this, that the idea was that I feel better about them now in the fact that, yes, there are puzzles out there that are really, really difficult, and that's okay because I know people might enjoy that. But for me, I find the puzzles that are challenging to me that aren't so challenging that I can't do them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I've found that, it's sort of the idea of like, I could do a 3-mile hike. I can't do a 30-mile hike. I mean, so I've learned
you don't have to find every cache. You don't have to solve every puzzle. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah,
one of the things I think a lot of regions have this, where somebody or some group have put out a series of puzzle education type series. So
sure.
we have a puzzle ed series, which they're pretty much just all power trail, like all along a trail,
Right.
but they're more instructional puzzle descriptions where you look at it and then you see the puzzle, but then they explain how to solve it as well.
Right.
And those are really introductory, because puzzling itself is a vast array of conceptual ideas, but just understanding like how to um, recognize patterns or some of the basic cipher types, things like that, that you can learn and then start to apply in different ways. It kind of trains your brain to think like a puzzler.
Sure.
And like even when it comes to like you said, with some of the 5 difficulties that you wanted to give up, or hard
Yeah.
puzzles,
Right.
I almost look at, with the 5 terrain, they're generally, you need special equipment. I kind of look at 5 difficulty puzzles as you need specialized knowledge. Like
Right.
we have some
Way to put it.
electricians. Yeah, we have electricians in town, and they might put out puzzles that you have to understand how like circuitry works and how the electronic terms and all that kind of stuff. And those are typically 5 difficulty. You look at that, it's like, what? I had no idea. But you have to do research or ask somebody who knows what it all means.
Sure.
And in that process, you kind of learn as you do it as well, if you're interested in learning it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like higher difficulties, I tend to find it's like make or break. You either want to do it and learn from it, or you don't do it, or you ask somebody for the answer.
Right.
So,
or clues or something to hint
mhm.
to kind of get you down the road a little bit, get you a hint or two. So,
Mhm.
all right, we'll get into tonight's list of 10 what I call geocaching life hacks. So, first one is to stay active at some aspect of geocaching. So, I'm always a little bit sad when I hear about different people that I've either cached with or I know who have given up on geocaching for whatever reason. And, I'm always wondering, why did they give up and why did they quit? What was it that, in a sense, kind of drove them away from something that I love so dear? And I don't think really get a good answer. But then I always think of myself as like, well, what is it that would drive me completely out of the game? And I guess the point that I got to, as far as a life hack is that idea, and that is to stay active at some aspect of it.
Mhm.
So if you don't like puzzles, don't do them. If you don't like, D5 T5s, don't do it. I
Mhm.
mean, if you don't want to fill out your physics grid, don't do it. Nobody, I mean, don't, you know, I don't care. I mean, I don't care if you do it, and you shouldn't care if I do it. I mean, that's, um, so yeah, Tom's got a good point, about as far as keeping your brain active, your body active, keep everything else active. Yeah. So that's true. So, but the idea, I guess, is that find what you love and love it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? As far as, if you love LPCs, go find every LPC you can find and love it and just enjoy it, and don't, I guess that's part of that, find what you love, but also forget what everybody else wants you to
Yeah.
do.
Like, don't denigrate people who like things that you don't
Right.
like.
Don't right. Don't denigrate those people, but also don't denigrate others.
Mhm.
And don't listen to people who are, oh, well, you really should be, you should be doing, I don't know. You should be traveling the world and caching. Well, true.
I'd add to that, like, also keep an open mind. Like,
Yeah.
don't be to the point of, well, I like what I want to do, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I'm just going to keep doing what I like to do.
Yes.
You kind of close yourself off to other possibilities, other things that might help. So it's like, yeah, focus on what you like to do, but don't be so focused that you
Yes.
lose sight of other potential.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a fine line.
Mm.
There really is a fine line between, but what I think happens is that people will get caught up in my friends are doing these 12 different things and I don't want to do them. Therefore I kind of go, geocaching has kind of become more work and less fun. And so I quit doing it. It's like, whoa, don't quit.
Yeah.
Just stop doing whatever these people are telling you to do. Do what you want to do.
Mhm.
But yes, I agree with you. You want to keep that fine line of curiosity in these other areas. So,
and I think it's easy to get frustrated with people, because if you value relationships with people,
yeah,
and even if you love what you're doing with geocaching, but your relationships get soured for whatever reason, like Geocacher Ken was saying, personal politics and drama can drive people away. It's like,
yes,
just even though you still love the hobby, you love doing what you're doing, just the fact that there are people who are problematic that you can't agree with, and there's drama, that itself can be something that sours the experience, even to the point of like not attending events anymore. And then suddenly there's really not much that you want to do, and you take a step back. Sometimes you might have to do that too.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. So, next point is about taking it slow, enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, the point here was that, and it reminds me of what I used for the logo for this podcast, and I think a lot of us have seen the picture of the guy sitting with the dog. Have you seen this picture? I'll bring it up. I've got a picture of it. So, and I'll describe it as I'm showing it, because for our audio listeners. But there's a picture I saw the other day, and now I'm finding it. This is good podcasting right now.
That's
folks.
right.
Hope you're enjoying this quality podcast right now. I will find it.
GS link.
I love it. Gary scrolling through his pictures. This is a lot of fun. I'm just gonna describe it, I think, because I can't seem to. Oh, here it is. I found it just after that.
It's just gonna look.
So let me solo for a minute. Solo. So have you not seen this picture yet?
Oh yes, yeah. For this podcast, yeah, this episode.
Yeah, this is why the dog is happier. The guy is worried about, some plane trip he's going to take. Does he have enough money? Is his car okay? What's the dog thinking about? Just being there with the dude. I mean, that's why he's happier.
Yep.
And that was exactly my point, is that, we need to become like that. We need to be, the person who goes wherever they go geocaching. If you go to an event, and we get busy, I know that's the nature of it, but for like going caching, one of the things I tried to do was just be there and just enjoy being there and talking with people that I normally don't get to talk to, and hang out with people I don't normally get to hang out with, and just enjoy the process and not get caught up too much in worrying about other things. And so,
it's really easy to get burnout, because you're doing so many things. There's so many aspects of geocaching. You want to experience it all. And there are people who really jump in and go nuts. And then, a year or two later, they've done it all and it's just tired and they want to take a break. But even like as a vlogger, it's like you're thinking so much about, okay, if I'm making a video, I want this footage and that footage, and I want to interview this person, and I want to see that and do that. And that it can overflow. So sometimes it's just like, okay, I want to go to an event and just enjoy the event.
Right.
I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just going to have fun, find a couple caches, chat with people, just take it easy for a bit. And same thing with geocaching. It's like, especially with challenges. Oh man.
Yeah, you gotta.
So
in a
many
while,
challenges to complete.
yeah, once in a while you do have to step away from
Yeah.
those, I think.
Well, and you hear that most with people doing streaks, right? Like
yeah,
people are like,
oh
oh, I
yeah,
got bored after 10 days, and other people are going
yeah,
1,000 days. Like everybody has a
oh,
different limit, and you just do what, like take it slow, but do what you enjoy. And when it's no longer fun, then don't do it anymore. You don't
do
have
something
to.
different.
Nobody's
Yeah,
forcing you to do anything.
yeah. Like Ruku likes to comment about enjoy life. Life is short. I love geocaches and friends.
Hmm.
It's very true. You know, that's just it's um, yeah. Oh, Dan was mentioning another one of our fabulous vloggers. Times just need to cash, not worry about filming, which has got to be tough for you guys because it's different. For podcasts, we don't really. I mean, the podcast is a certain time. I don't have to think about it. In a sense, but you're like always. Maybe I can capture this. Oh, maybe I can grab this. Maybe I can put this together into a vlog of some type, and this might help. Blah blah blah. And so yeah.
Hmm.
Um, uh, but so yeah, take it slow. Enjoy the process.
Hmm.
Number 3, we kind of talked about work on your geocaching health.
Hmm.
Whatever you need to do, whatever you feel like is going to help you health wise, whatever happens to be, definitely work on that.
Well, and there's doctors who recommend geocaching for people who need to get out and be active.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just hiking, the just the aspect of geocaching, keeping something on your mind when you go out to search for something, adds a little more to that health aspect. It gives you more of a motivation even to get out and get the fresh air and get that, even just a matter of slow, regular exercise. Like it's
Yeah. We're gonna get a little bit more into that here in a moment. But number 4 is about surround your geocaching with good friends. Avoid being a geocaching island. And I think that's key. I know a lot of people love to go geocaching by themselves, and that's okay. I understand. But you almost kind of need to, in my opinion, you need to geocache. Uh, your geocaching needs to, in a sense, sort of match your personality.
Mm.
So if you're like me, um, you don't want to geocache by yourself. In fact, I rarely geocache. Once in a while, I will because geocache at lunch at work. I'll go do that. But then again, I usually try to periscope it, so I'm kind of trying to grab something and bring them with me. But um, I have learned that I want to geocache with somebody else. That's when I find geocaching to be fulfilling. So that's what I'm going to do. If you're the kind of person who doesn't, that's not good. It's not it's not your thing. Then don't go geocaching with a bunch of people. I mean,
Yeah.
if it goes against your nature, I mean, I can understand doing it some of the time. Like if you're in an event, you know, um, you know, you might want to go with don't not do it because that's not really your thing.
Yeah.
But you know, you know, Tom makes a good point about go alone at times. He likes it, but he'd rather go with a group. So, that's try to geocache as much as possible within whatever your personality fits best. So
I kind of see that the key would be finding those people that you click with, even if it's just for geocaching. Like I have a bunch of friends that I really only connect with through geocaching.
right.
Like if we do anything, we're geocaching, but we really connect there, and it adds a lot to the experience, the fun. It keeps you social because you might meet some of their friends as well, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of generally better that way. Even if it's just one or two people,
Yeah.
just being with somebody else adds that level of interaction that you wouldn't necessarily get being alone. It's just a different dynamic. It's not better or worse. It's just different. It's positive. But it's
Exactly. But yeah, so yeah. Where's Wanderer says I'm a loner, geocache by myself. Yeah, I love to meet others on the trail. But he's kind of found that that's what that person wants to do. So, don't try to buck always the trend and do something you're probably, not going to enjoy because that's not the point of it all. So,
It even said like with that meeting up with other cachers.
yeah,
For me personally, it's almost like very chameleon like.
right.
because the kind of people that you team up with also kind of dictate the kind of geocaching you do. Because like for instance, if I'm with some friends who are much more outdoorsy, then
Yeah.
I'm out with them in their canoe, and I'm doing stuff with them. We're going on, long drives and hikes and stuff like that. But then I've also got friends who are much more casual, and with with some of the videos I do with Team Fart, FARRT.
Yes,
we cache so often together, and I'm the youngest of the group, but we just have a blast. And if we're doing stuff, then I'm kind of generally the one who does the more physical ones, like tree climbs.
Yeah,
but we just have so much fun because we connect, our personalities connect, and it's just a really enjoyable experience. So I mean, find the people you connect with and go caching with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, y'all went to Scotland together, so that's really cool. I mean, that's neat. That's a full commitment right there.
Well, and I mentioned in chat we did the ET Highway, and it was 3 other friends, and that was 4 relatively large guys in one vehicle for 4 days, and we completed the ET Highway Power Trail in 3 of those days with 901 day. It's a marathon. It was a completely different experience.
It is right.
But yeah, and then we had a motel room which was really small, so we were really cramped, and it was very it's like
so
memories
in the car, cramped in the hotel room. Hopefully when you went somewhere with a little more space,
Yeah,
that's great.
You make memories that way.
Good experience. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everybody should. Well, I say everybody should do that. If it fits your personality, that's something you really need to do, is to get out and do something like that. So number 5, overcoming obstacles. And I've got a quote here from Helen Keller. Hopefully everybody knows who Helen Keller is. I mean, I know we got a lot of young folk, but she was deaf and blind, but she overcame all that. She said, the marvelous richness of human experience would lose something of rewarding joy if there was no limitations to overcome. The hilltop hour would not be half so wonderful if there were no dark valleys to traverse. I thought that was interesting. I mean, she traversed stuff that is unbelievable. Nothing that we will hopefully ever have to go through. But it's an interesting thought, the idea that obstacles are a good thing in a sense. The puzzles that we don't want to do, maybe we can slowly work toward doing because they're an obstacle. Or puzzles is maybe not a good example, but the cache at the top of the hill that we normally would skip, perhaps that is an obstacle that one day we want to actually try to overcome. Maybe something of that nature. Is whatever it happened to be, you fill in the blank with your own obstacle that you need to get through. But maybe that is something, instead of looking at it as I just want to keep going around this obstacle, that perhaps one day, geocaching wise, maybe this is something that I need to take on and not just avoid. And maybe there's some fulfillment in overcoming that particular obstacle.
Yeah.
So, number 6 was have a healthy geocaching attitude. And I think you have a really good attitude about that. And I think we all need to do that, just to not look for the good in a situation or in people as much as we can, and not look at it from a bad perspective. Number 7 was kind of really more along the line of what you were talking about earlier, and it is it's sort of odd sounding, but it's a Japanese term, Shrin-yoku. Shrin-yoku. Also known as forest bathing. And that's really don't go in the forest, take your clothes off. That's not what it is.
There are
it's the idea.
caches out there to do that.
Unless that's your thing, and then I don't want to know about it. But there have been some different things written about it. It was developed in Japan, well, or the thought of it. I guess it's been around forever, but they kind of coalesced the idea, and that is that it's a preventative healthcare item, and it's actually part of Japanese medicine now, and that is um, that research teams measured levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, in subjects, and they found the levels significantly lower if people would get out into a forest environment. And they say even the proximity to green spaces in most urban areas can result in lower stress levels, meaning just a walk in a local park to pick up some caches can help you lower your stress level. And, without getting into all the, I want to get all the, um, new age type thing, because that's not you or I's thing at all. But it's interesting though to think about the fact that when we do get out into something of that type where you're away from buildings and artificial light, and it just isn't natural, makes perfect sense. We weren't designed to be indoors under fluorescent light all day every day, all day for weeks and months of time. The whole idea is that you can actually measure that, the fact that if people get out, even just in a park, they don't have to get out and commune with nature and that in some crazy thing. It's just to get out and enjoy nature, even in a small sense. You don't have to necessarily, you may not have a forest near you, but the idea is to get out into the sun, get some vitamin D in your body.
Yeah. There's a science to it. There's a
Yeah,
biological effect that happens even just being around natural space.
just
Yeah.
fresh oxygen does the body good.
And it's the same concept, like city design and architecture, that they all take that into consideration too. Like whether you've got like an atrium in the middle of the building with plants and bushes that people can go to sit and relax during the workday or something,
Right.
or even like New York downtown with Central Park, like that's a huge green space in the middle of this really super dense urban core. Like that whole thing, there's a truth to the fact that being out in nature is just in and of itself healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool, like you're saying. Scott brought up a point, which is that whole idea of whoever when they designed the city, made sense. They left that area, which works out perfect because so many people, that really is something they you need to get away from some of that, and get into these kind of different areas that will help you sort of de-stress a little bit. Get out into nature, get out into even a park, or if you can, get out and walk a trail. Those are always great if you have that opportunity.
It's another reason why I love what geocaching did, because it's technology and it's a game. And so
Yeah,
it got everybody who is not nature oriented to go out in nature. Because if to play the game, you have to
right.
be out in nature. So it's got
Yeah,
all the like tech geeks and computer people and people who would just love being indoors or just sitting on a couch and watching TV. Like it adds entertainment to being outside in nature. So now people are wanting to get out there. And I think I have no source for this, but I remember reading something about how there's more people going outside these days than there was a while back. Like,
yeah.
so yeah.
And it's important. We've found there always been plenty of, maybe not necessarily scientific studies, but there have been people who've studied a little bit of the fact that if kids don't get out and get off of computers and technology, that they do uh, they don't do as well in school and different things. If they're a little more well-rounded, that's something we need to do as well, is to try to be well-rounded cachers, get out into some of that area And like you said, it does the body good.
Mhm.
Um, so a couple more, and we'll wrap up tonight. But um, number 8 was to give thanks to others who make your geocaching joyful. I think often we can forget the people who make whatever wonderful events, geocaches. People spend a lot of time. Bounce is in the chat room. There's a guy who will labor. I mean, he is laboring over creating these gadget caches.
Mhm.
WV Tim. I mean, there's different people. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not laboring over a geocache yourself, but
Well, it's another good example of people who are good at something focusing on what they're good at.
right,
And by doing that, they're helping to make that aspect of geocaching better for people who enjoy that.
yeah, exactly right. We need to be thankful for that. We need to be thankful for the person who puts out a you know may not be the greatest cache in the world, but maybe that was a cache that you really wanted, and or maybe that's a cache that they really wanted to put out.
Mhm.
So I think often we in the world we live today, geocaching, we tend to constantly are pushing. We're pushing and pushing and pushing. You need to get better caches, do better caches, do more creative caches, do more gadget caches, do more burnout, whatever it happens to be. And I understand. I agree with that to a point, but I think that once in a while we need to step back and really identify. And I've seen this. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I've seen where there'll be a cache and it's real simple, and you find it and you go, "That was wonderful," but it wasn't that memorable. But if you read there was one not too far from here where when you read the description, person was brand new to geocaching.
Mhm.
They were very excited to hide their first cache, and that's the kind of person that you really want to put. And I put a really nice
Mhm.
description of what I did, and the fact that I was very thankful that they were in geocaching. And so often we see people who are like, "Oh," and if you've ever been involved in events, Tom can tell you this, and other people who have been involved with hosting events of any major event size, is you get people who are just complaining and whining and moaning, and they're, "Oh, this is terrible. I've had to stay in line for 10 minutes. What is wrong with you people? Blah blah blah." And you're like, you know,
Mhm.
we just need to step back,
Take a deep breath.
take a deep breath. Let's be thankful. Let's be thankful for the ones that um, you know some of these caches may not be the greatest, but you know
Mhm.
what? Maybe the person behind it can mean a lot to them that they put this cache out.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I was
that's
gonna,
going to make a good point.
yeah.
I was just going to say we're thankful for rest area caches for sure. Boy, doesn't help with kids. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
another one that some people might complain because, oh, it's just a quick little cache at a little park and grab and a stop. But that can be huge for people with kids who just need a break, get out and run around for a bit.
absolutely.
I'm was going to mention that
Yeah,
I was touching on that the quality of the cache in one of my caching connoisseur videos from a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
yeah.
Where it was a guardrail cache, but
Okay.
the timing and the fact that I was on a long drive, I stopped to find it, and it was like, yeah, I was just sitting in the guardrail. But then I took a walk 10 meters down, and it was a bridge, and it
Uh-huh.
was by the Lake Huron, and
Oh.
it was looking out over. There was like a little culvert under the bridge, but
Uh-huh.
just looking out over that natural landscape with the sunset there was just like, who's the caching connoisseur? Like, it's
Yeah.
it was just a moment that added so much because there was a cache there, and I stopped, and it was a huge experience. Even
Yeah.
though on some other day, like sun high in the sky or raining or something, a guardrail is not going to be interesting or fun. So like,
Right.
there's more than just the container, and if you
Yes.
can somehow enjoy the cache for more than that, then you get a lot more out of it. You never really know what the value could be in a simple little geocache.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Tom mentions, and this is something we all need to do, is give thanks. All those that came and said or emailed thank yous for Geo Woodstock
Mhm.
more than made up for the few who complained. So yeah, that's a good point. So,
Yep.
and then number 9, not all who wander are lost. Actually, maybe getting lost once in a while is good for you. I had a friend who
As long as you
mentioned,
got a GPS.
yeah, as long as you have a GPS, as long as you don't get too lost. But they had an interesting idea. It was a couple, and what they would do is, I don't know if they did this, but it was an interesting idea, and that was, and you kind of have to have 2 people to do this, but you could come up with some way to do it, I guess, by yourself, or have somebody on the phone or something. But they would they would start driving, and when they got to a point where they had to make a decision, small roads, not highways, but drive a small town road, and then you get to a point where maybe you have to make a decision, left or right, and the one person wasn't watching, so they would like close their eyes and they would go, okay, I gotta make a decision. Which way am I going, left or right? Like, oh, go right. Okay, drive right. Okay, left or right? What do I gotta do now? All right, take a left this time. And the idea was to basically don't pick where you're going, just
Mhm.
just end up somewhere. It's and one way to do that, if you're interested in not doing it that way, but is to try to do counties, because trust me, regardless of where you are in the world, typically there's if you're starting to do the counties or the provinces of where you live or near where you live, you're going to be in places you've never been before, and you have no idea. I've never been here. I'm not sure what I'm. Doing Texas has been an experience like that where you kind of are lost. I mean, you have a GPS. Hopefully, you've got some signal of some type, but it's kind of exciting because you're somewhere where you've never been,
and you never really know what you're going to discover either, because it's just like
right.
we talk about there was this park that I never knew about until geocaching just behind,
Right.
like that sort of thing. Just walking around, you discover little things in town. But then if you're driving and you're going on a road trip and you go to counties or areas you've never been to before because there's a cache there, you
Yep.
have no idea what you might discover. Like there's been a few waterfalls that I had no idea about.
Right.
But I was on a road trip. I'm like, okay, I haven't been here before, and there's one over here, so let's go check it out. And suddenly, out of nowhere, this waterfall appears, and it's like, this is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know necessarily what's out there until you just go exploring.
Yeah, I mean, we ran into this past weekend when Susan and I went. A couple things. One is we went to a park and we ran into somebody had built a horse out of old horseshoes. I mean, lots of them, but they built this giant, like a life size. It was literally the size of a real horse, and it was all made out of old horseshoes. So it was very cool looking. And we ran into, and again, should have been thinking and should have been planning better, but we ran into Shamrock, Texas, which doesn't mean much to anybody except for the fact that it's on Route 66, which, if you're not familiar with Route 66, do a little reading because it's very interesting. The Mother Road, as we used to call it, has been called. But if you're familiar with the movie Cars, there's a scene in Cars with the famous "You Drop In" building, the Conoco Tower. It's this little building, but it's very famous, iconic looking, or that they put into cartoon Cars. Tom's familiar with it. He's like, Cars, yes.
That's good.
But again, it's something we really unfortunately didn't plan for, but just ran across it, and we stopped, talked to some people, and kind of it was one of those beautiful things that happened that we didn't plan for. And the only way we could have done that is by getting out and getting into areas that there is a cache. Sherry's right, and we did. We found the cache that was there. And that was the cache for that county for us. So yeah.
And I think the aspect of, getting lost once in a while is a good thing, but, be cautious about it.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I'd say get lost, but know where you are. If that makes
Get
sense.
lost in safe areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go down
Yeah.
weird roads at night.
Get
Yeah.
lost as in don't have a destination,
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Explore. Don't get lost to the point where you have to call in 911 to
No.
yeah.
Yeah. Be
Especially
safe.
if you're in a conservation area or a park or something with wild animals that don't like you there.
Yeah. So be get lost safely.
Yeah.
And the number 10 we talked about before, live in the geocaching moment. And why is the dog happier than you? Always remember that. Why is the dog happier than you? Because he is living in the moment and you're not, and you need to be. All right. Final thoughts for tonight, Jeff.
I would say geocaching, like for me personally at least, I like to call it a hobby. Keep it a hobby. Any kind of hobby, any kind of thing that you do all the time can easily become an addiction, and it can control you. So try not to let geocaching become something that controls your life, but let it be something that complements your life, something that enhances your daily activities. If you do it daily, if not, that's fine too. There's no rules. Well, I mean, there's guidelines, but there's no rules about geocaching in your life. Just let it be what it is. So, like, some people go with their family once or twice every few months, and some people do it daily. There's, it is what it is, and just let it be something that makes your life better, because it's a tool and it's a vast, wide variety of experiences. It can open your mind. It can open your life to things you've never known or experienced before. So let it do that.
No, that's good. Very good. Good thoughts there, my friend. Yeah, my couple things I wrote down before the show. Give back to this great sport. I call it a sport, but that's okay. We can call it a hobby, whatever you want to call it. Give back in some way. You need to give back. Make a cache if you never made a cache. Make a fun cache if you never made a fun cache. Make a hard cache if you never made a hard. Think about what you're doing in that sense. If you've never volunteered at a large event, sign up for a large event and volunteer. If you've never hosted an event, host an event. If nobody shows up, that's okay. At least you hosted an event. I mean, I think some people get worried about, and it might be out of their personality, and I understand that. If that doesn't fit, okay.
I'll add, not in your personality. It's totally like me. Like I've always been an introvert. I've been shy. I was the guy who was like least of the bunch as a kid, and I never once imagined that I'd be doing what I'm doing today back then. Like, it's just because you don't think it's your personality, that can change in time.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Step out of the comfort zone periodically. That's important. So, all right. A couple items as we wrap up tonight. As I mentioned, next week we're going to be doing the Mingo Madness Mega Update live from Mingo. Is that enough M's for you? It's going to be a great time. Another M, information will be given out next Sunday night as we do the show from beautiful metropolis of Colby, Kansas. So join us if you can. If not, we'll be doing, like I said, we'll be doing our regular show at the regular time, and we'll be giving you some very cool updates. I think you will enjoy hearing about it, even if you're not going to be able to get to go to Mingo next year. I think you'll at least enjoy hearing about some of the things that are going on, and so that's going to be fun. Now, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing Let's All Where I Go. So make sure, don't forget, hide you a cache somewhere. And if you've never done a Where I Go, that's okay. Hide a traditional somewhere, or archive one of them and redo your log and get it ready, or whatever you want, whatever you need to do. and we're going to walk through. We're going to try to hide 30 more where I goes in the world because it'll be fun. So, yes, you're exactly right. That's where Colby was invented. Tom was in Colby, Kansas. So it's the home of. Colby is famous for being an oasis in the plains, and they really embrace this idea of. In fact, they've planted palm trees in Kansas, so they have a lot of good fun with their, and they come up with their own little nickname of being Oasis in the Plains. So good sense of humor on them for that. So all right, and in 3 weeks we're going to do something interesting. We're going to talk about how to create geo art. I have no idea. You said, Jeff, you said you did one with a tree, right?
Yeah, so I created my tree climb trail where the posted coordinates of all the caches form a tree shape and a little bird in the sky.
Oh, that's cool. That's perfect. So we're going to talk about how you'd even go about creating a geo art. It'll be fun. I don't think we've really ever talked about that before. So we're going to talk about the nuts, a little bit of the nuts and bolts of how we would go about doing that. So, all right, let me hit the. I've got some new ones too, by the way. I'm gonna play them real fast because I think they're fun. Like that one?
Dun, dun, dun.
And of course, I got the. Nobody loves that one. Oh well. All right.
That's a Jimmy Fallon sound.
That's right. All right. Let me play the final.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight, as well as our new format. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff. See everybody next week.
See ya. Thanks for coming.
Bye.